Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What Am I Thinking? A podcast where two sisters share uplifting conversations on fun and sometimes serious topics.
Join us each week by clicking the notification bell and subscribing to our channel. If you enjoy the show, use the share link. It's one of the best ways to expand the conversation.
Hello, and welcome to W.A.I.T. What Am I Thinking? So, we are in the month of February, which is Black History Month, and we actually happen to have some historical things happening in American history.
Aside from Punxsutawney Phil seeing his shadow, and we got 6 more weeks of winter, according to him.
For sure. So, Lori, Biden will have the opportunity because Justice Breyer is retiring, so he will get at least one seat to fill, and one of the things he promised to do was to nominate an African American female to the Supreme Court, which is historic. We have one African American male on the court. And we do have a Hispanic female. We have had previously 2 Caucasian females, and currently, I know one, is it 1 or 2 still on there? Don't get me to get it wrong. I know the newest one, Amy Cohen Barrett, is there. I know Sandra Day did retire, Sandra Day O'Connor, and Justice Ginsburg we lost. So I think that's it. I don't think I think there's just the 2 females on the court right now. So I could be wrong. So don't nail me to the cross if I've got that wrong. But we have never had an African American female on the Supreme Court. So one of the things that when they were beginning the process and saying this was to realize that we don't have, and not to say they have to be on the federal court to be nominated, because there have been some exceptions to those who have been nominated, but when you look at the federal judges, it's not a lot of minority representation there in the first place. So I haven't looked closely at the names, but there was which was a joke probably made in jest by Jimmy Kimmel. Have you heard his joke about who he should nominate?
No.
He said he should nominate Anita Hill.
Okay, so I heard her name. It wasn't in jest, but I did hear her name.
And and of course he went on to say, she shows up and says, "Hey, Clarence, would you like a Coke?" or something like that. But I think she would be a great jurist.
I can understand why whether they asked her or not, she has already gone on record saying that
she's not interested.
She is not interested.
I figured that as much, but she definitely would be qualified and would fit the bill. So, but I understand her not feeling as if that is a box she wants to check at this point in her life, because the scrutiny alone should make anybody really, you got to really want it.
Right. It's quite telling, that whole process.
And she's been through the ringer already.
She has been through the ringer, and I also know she's been behind the veil. So there's a whole lot in terms of that process that she's fully aware of.
Very much
that,
so.
We don't know about.
And the climate today,
I can't even
1,000 times worse. 1,000 times. Everything that goes on would be reported out and on social media, twisted, bent. So I understand her reluctance and well, not even reluctance, her saying no, thank you.
Right.
I get that.
Right.
So, but then, also her history with Biden, because he was the one heading up that committee at the time of the Clarence Thomas nomination. So,
And I think for him, especially in the uphill battle that he has had to go through these past few months, that's the last thing he needs, is for that to resurface.
Yeah, because that would overshadow the whole process.
And for another TV drama to be made about it.
True. Right. So, but I'm just grateful that the Breyer did go ahead and choose to retire. It would have been wonderful if the other one prior to her passing had done the same, to have given somebody else the opportunity to fill a seat in the court. Would be,
but the other thing with her, before she passed, she was holding on because of who was in the White House. She was trying her best to hold on.
Correct, but what we're saying is they had went to her
before. Okay,
I
was not aware of
that. Right, and so that we wouldn't be in a position that she had it, just in case, because typically after 8 years of one party, typically it does flip.
And even when they did the movie about her life, and I know we're speaking of her, not naming who we're talking about, but it's quite obvious. To see her story and her struggle, I can understand.
Yes, I get
why she felt.
I do.
I worked for this.
I get it. I do. And that was the mindset of Breyer. That because he had said no, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But in this whole conversation of looking at this monumental thing of being able to nominate an African American female to the court, that can bring up the conversation of, should they be lifetime appointments?
Before we even go to that, because that's a whole nother topic. What has bothered me about this discussion and about Biden's pledge, his pledge when he was running for president, is that now we're here, he's ready to fulfill it. And we have certain politicians saying, if you're a white man, that basically means you're not even going to be considered. I have such a problem with that.
I understand.
Because from the landing on Plymouth Rock all the way to this day, there is one particular person of the human species that has not had to fight, struggle, and even, you fought with the Indians, but they were here first. You fought with Mexico. You pushed them out. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And the fact that they can even say it, can sit back and have it be a part of the conversation.
Well, they talked about how Reagan had set out to do to put a female on the court.
Okay.
When he did, I want to say it was Sandra Day O'Connor, I believe. Okay. Was who he put on the court, and he said he was going to put a female on the court, and that's what he did. And I'm sure they didn't blink an eye.
Well, I was young then.
I was, but it resurfaced when that argument came up.
Okay.
And if their hero,
which we most definitely know he is,
could do it, even though it was one less specificity, because he did not say African American female or Caucasian female. He said female. But I think at the time, knowing his history,
we all knew
we kind of knew who had a shot at it, probably. But I'm not in his head, so I'm not going to say for certain. But that is his prerogative to choose, and especially when you can see that representation is not on the court. The Supreme Court is supposed to be a body that is just like when you have a trial, it's supposed to be a jury of your peers.
Right.
So the highest court in the land shouldn't look like
the country.
it should be representative. And guess what? We should try to have that representation to a degree. And so when somebody of a certain gender or race leaves, that maybe we replace them with that. And to have that parity on the court. I think it's something worth looking at and talking about, because representation matters. It really does. And I really wish we could get to a court that had maybe 4 liberals, 4 conservatives, and an independent. And so that we could really do some things that reflected where the country is and not where a party is.
I think that you're right. In a perfect world, it would be 4, 4, and 1.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, when we live in a country where a person, and it's a particular individual that is a Democrat,
mm-hmm.
but it is believed she actually is a Republican, because in her behavior, what she says, how she wants to vote.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt, because we know in Florida, it is a fact that they were funding people
mm-hmm.
as liberal Democrats to split the vote, and then piling all of their efforts with one Republican. And that's how the Republican would get into office, because it would be 2 or 3 liberal.
Going to, so it split the vote.
To split the vote,
yeah,
right.
I did hear about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, when we come to that point in our country where that is what is going on.
Manipulation of the process.
We know
to
that
the nth degree.
Yeah, we can't trust that. So we literally have to just hope and pray that the people that go on the court are people of integrity, that they are literally looking at our Constitution, and that they are trying to interpret the law.
Right.
That's their role. And when our founding fathers gave us this 3-tier government, it was when you can't figure it out on this level, and you can't that's where our courts are supposed to come in.
Right. I agree. Well, as I said, I am not familiar with the names or the backgrounds of any of the people who are in the running for the position and to be nominated, but I am extremely excited to be able to see it happen. And I just, I had seen that the senator from New Mexico had a stroke, Democratic senator, and I was just like, oh no, please let him be okay. So I voraciously read the article, and it says he should be fine, because in order to get it done, everybody's got to be healthy, whole, and we need every single one. And so it's like, even though it seems like it should be a given and a done deal, we know it's not.
Right.
We know it's not. And so hopefully there will be no barriers to the process, and it won't be a brutal process, that it could, because there was a time where it was both parties would vote and put somebody in, but now it's
very political.
So political. There is the bipartisan approach. I would love to get back to that, but it's so divisive now that I don't know if that's going to happen. And if in one place we could have that bipartisanship, it would be great if it was on the court. Because there were times where sometimes they would literally pick a moderate, and I'm even okay if the whole court was were moderates and there wasn't somebody that, was extreme, because my saying, extreme on either end is not good. I don't want somebody that's extremely liberal, and I don't want somebody that's extremely conservative. I want somebody that can look at the issue, and have that independent mindset, because it's hard to be able to say that you truly have that if you allow your values and beliefs to skew it. And I know they want to say they don't, but it's hard to believe that. And especially in the backdrop of them going out and recently giving speeches. I don't know if you heard about that with Gorsuch, that he did some kind of engagement and basically said some things related to the Roe v. Wade, and that coming before. He didn't necessarily say that, but it was basically things that would let you know where he leans if you didn't already know. Mm-hmm. And they were saying justices would normally not do speaking engagements and talk about especially something that's about to come before the court. So, that's a whole nother thing. But I am very happy that in the backdrop of, let's say in the forefront of Black History Month, that something monumental should be happening related to putting an African American female, the first African American female, on the Supreme Court. So guys, while you're listening to this conversation, please join in, leave your comments. Let's be kind to each other in the comments when we're sharing. And remember to hit the bell button so that you can be notified as soon as the latest program is uplinked. And we look forward to seeing you, hearing you, reading from you next time. Thanks for listening.